No better track to host Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America than Road America, the National Park of Speed. 4 miles of brand new asphalt that is assured to bring us great racing today. Side-by-side action, expect to see it, and certainly incredibly high speeds. This is a magic place. Everyone wants to race here, and of course, everyone wants to win here. Like I said, 4 miles, 14 different corners. Where is Road America exactly? Well, it is just out of this village of Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. About an hour and a half north of Milwaukee sits Elkhart Lake and Road America. They first raced on the streets here in the early 50s and then built this epic racetrack. 14 corners, great passing zones, turn 1, turn 5, down into turn 8 and Canada corner, all heavy braking zones and all with slightly different personalities. Your car has to work well around this racetrack, especially in right-hand corners, because it is a predominantly right-hand racetrack. Cars headed on to the racetrack now, 4 different classes in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, all the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2. Even though the drivers have different experience, they all drive the same cars. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Brian Till, along with sports car expert Jeremy Shaw. We'll have all the action for you. And Jeremy, expect to see plenty of it, especially on this freshly repaved Road America circuit.
Oh, man. And we've seen super fast speeds this weekend, Brian. 36 cars, that equals the record number of cars starting a Lamborghini Super Trofeo race. Stacked field, really tight at the front. New lap record for Ryan Norman in qualifying with that Wayne Taylor racing with Andretti Autosport entering that car number 84. He will start from the pole position. But look, there's so many stories up and down this field. I mean, starting with, let's say, I don't think we've got time to go through the whole grid here with that many cars, but number 47, Mo Dadka. He's a kind of a local personality here in the Chicago area. He's from the Chicago area, but has done a lot of racing here at Road America. He's had nothing but problems in this weekend so far. He had a broken axle in the second session yesterday. They had a brake issue during qualifying, which was earlier this morning. So he's going to start dead last in car number 47. He's going to be fun to watch. In the LB Cup, we talked about the 4 different categories of drivers: pros, pro-ams, AMs, and LB Cup for the least experienced drivers. There's 5 pros, 12 pro-ams, 9 AMs, and 10 in the LB Cup. And on pole position in the LB Cup is Fred Roberts from Toronto, Canada for NTE Sport. This is his second time he's qualified on the pole in the LB Cup, and he's going to start 23rd in that car. A lot farther forward is the best of the AM cars, a tremendous run by Glenn McGee in qualifying this morning. In car number 69 for Precision Performance Motorsports, he will start in the 7th position overall. And Glenn has just literally got out of his MX-5 Cup car, which he was competing in just a few moments ago, hopped straight into this car, and hopefully made it in time to take up his grid position. So let's run down the top 10, let's say, on the grid. Alex Prema will start 10th in car number 70. He's in the Pro-Am class. A pro, James Walker, in car number 77 on the inside of row 5. Row 4, John Capestrio Dubets, who is the championship leader in Pro-Am, in car number 46 for Precision Performance Motorsports. His teammate Glenn McGee will start 7th, the best of the AM cars. 2 Pro-Am entries are on row 3 of the grid. That's Billy Johnson in car number 96 for TR3 Racing, and that car was also crashed in qualifying by his teammate Todd Coleman, but has been repaired and I think is in position to start the race. Alongside him is a pole sitter in Pro-Am. That's Andy Lee in car number 14 for Flying Lizard Motorsports. Top 4 positions, well, they're all pros. For TR3 Racing is car number 88, Gianna Turino in the 4th position. Championship leader Carl Marcelli in car number 1 for Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport will start 3rd. Tremendous effort by Nico Jamin in car number 30 for IMSA Motorsports to qualify 2nd. Last time he was here, by the way, was in USF 2000 open wheel car back in 2011, so that was a while ago. And Ryan Norman is on the pole position in car number 84. So it's a fun grid, and we've seen some really fast times this weekend, Brian.
And as you watch those Lamborghini Huracans on the racetrack, you can tell the different classes based upon the color there in the upper right corner of the windscreen or on the back of the car. That kind of orange or bronze chiclet means the pro category, so you'll know instantly who those are. The blue is LB Cup, green is in the AM category, and yellow is in the Pro-Am category, so you can get an idea. Even though all the cars look exactly the same, look for that little triangle in the right upper section of the windscreen or the little chiclet on the back bumper. That'll give you an idea of what class they're in, lined up on the front straightaway, and they line up based upon qualifying. They don't mix classes, so it's just whoever was quickest lines up that way. And you look at the entry here, absolutely stunning. Look at this. Look at the Lamborghinis up the front straightaway, waiting for the green flag. Column formation. It's got to be held until across the line. Waiting. Ryan Norman in that black and orange up front alongside Kyle Marcelli, and that's a problem right there. Already you see cars moving before the start-finish line, and I think that's going to be an issue. Ryan Norman where he needed to be, and I think Nico Jamin outside the front row slid over behind Norman before they ever got to the line, Jeremy.
It certainly looked that way. I mean, the officials will look at it. That's one thing in IMSA. You're not allowed to move out of your column lane until you cross start-finish line. And he was kind of goaded into doing that by the pole sitter, who just got a great jump away from that rolling start. And Nico, he's not done many IMSA races in the past, so he could be kind of forgiven for that, perhaps. But look, it's up to the driver to know the rules of the series he's competing in. Nico's been in a lot of different series in a lot of different countries all around the world, so he should have been familiar with that. And yeah, he's going to be lucky if he doesn't get a penalty.
I'm sure he'll say, I'm sorry, but I don't think he'll be completely forgiven.
No, but
we'll have to see what Todd Snyder, the race director, has to say. I understand.
Maybe he'll take him to Seekins later on this evening. Perhaps he'll be able to get away with it.
Exactly. Up front, though, Ryan Norman leads the field here on lap 1, out of turn 8. Big jump over Jamin just behind in the number 30. Then the bright red Kyle Marcelli. Marcelli leads the championship with his teammate Danny Framal, and they have been absolutely spectacular this year, to the point, Jeremy, they are undefeated in 4 races.
They are indeed. Four wins in 4 races. First 2 of the season at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, then at Watkins Glen International at the end of June. Four poles. They've had 2 pole positions. One of the poles at Watkins Glen was decided by practice times after qualifying was stopped early due to an incident, but the only other pole sitter this season overall is Gianno Torino in that very distinctive green if you look at it from the right side, red if you look at it from the left side. Lamborghini currently running in 3rd position.
Oh, in the 20 off, coming through turn 13. That has to be a moment there. Takes your breath away, I'm sure, if you're behind the wheel. As you saw that car, Shion Chandrasoma behind the wheel, exiting turn 13. The car just goes wide and it bounds across the grass.
Yeah, that was an exciting moment for another very distinctive car, that gold-wrapped car, and it's changed teams for this weekend. He got way wide on the exit turn 13. It's been a common theme this weekend. What we've also seen is cars running wide there and then looping across the track and hitting the wall on driver's left there. So hats off there to Shion Chandrasoma for not doing that. He ran across the grass, lost a few positions, but nothing worse than that. And Shion Chandrasoma switching this weekend in that car number 20 to a different team this weekend. He's running with TPC Racing, which is making its debut for this year in the championship. A welcome return for that TPC team. And having won the AM championship himself last year, he's sharing the car this weekend with Bryson Liu, his first start of the season, and he is the reigning Pro-Am champion.
Well, and I'm not sure that the 20 seems to be healthy after that off. Obviously, you're going to get some debris on the tires, but for Chandrasoma, all the way down to turn 3, seemed to be fighting for grip, and the stability in that Lamborghini was not there for him. And now a problem for the 64. Not exactly sure where that is. It looks like it may be off of turn 7, but looks like he's made contact with the wall. Driver's left. It's between 6 and 7, so that's going to be at the exit of turn 6. The car loops back to driver's left before turn 7, and the contact doesn't seem to be too significant for Tom Tate, but the 13 obviously also involved, Jeremy.
Yeah, well, it's a different part of the racetrack. That's the turn 8, isn't it? I think at the bottom
Yeah,
of that
turn
hill,
8.
so a couple of corners later. And Ophir Levy in that car number 13, he's one of the top contenders in the LB Cup category, qualified in the 3rd position, but very, very close behind the 2 ahead of him, which was Fred Roberts and his own teammate Mark Wilgus. And he won the most recent race at Watkins Glen. It's sort of, Tom Tate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So for Tom Tate at the exit of turn 6, Jeremy, it looks like he probably has the traction control turned down a fair amount and just loses the back end. What happens down in turn 8 for Ophir Levy? Boom, the 11. I'm not sure if the 11 gets into the side of the 13 or if the 13 doesn't turn down on the 11. I have to look at it again to get a little better picture. Any way you look at it, that's cut down the left rear tire for Ophir Levy. That Hankook tire down. This is going to be a long, long way around to pit lane.
Yeah, it is very, very frustrating for Ophir. Whoops. Yeah.
Frustrating to the point that kind of outdrove that flat tire and now has looped the car in between the carousel and the kink.
And you talked about number 20 car struggling. That's the car that ran off the road. He exited turn 13 on the first lap. That car was just pulled into the pit lane, by the way. But Ophir Levy, what a good job he's done, I think, to get that car out of harm's way. But
yeah, so he's out of the way. Tom Tate still stranded there in between 6 and 7 and the 20 of Chandra Soma on pit lane. And we'll go full course caution here at Road America and Lamborghini Super Trofeo. This is the 5th race of the season, 3rd weekend of the season for LB Cup competitor Ophir Levy, not going the way he wanted it to early on. Contact with the 11 has cut down that rear tire.
Yeah.
So there he is. He's trying to get out of the way and stay to driver's right. And I think what happens, Jeremy, gets there on the grass and just kind of loses control of the car a little bit. He's going to pull the car to driver's right. And when it gets over there, the combination of the grass on the right, no grip on that left rear tire, upsets the balance, so to speak, of that Lamborghini. Around he goes. And then right in front of him, he sees that cut. And you know what? He's going to say, discretion's the better part of valor. I think I'm going to park.
Yeah, heads up driving by Ophir there. Shame for him, though. He's had a really good season. He's driving really well right now. He's gaining a lot of experience from that team. Patrick Liddy is his driver coach, works with that Forte Racing powered by US Racetronics team, and is a very accomplished driver in his own right. And Ophir Levy, having won the most recent race at Watkins Glen, qualified, I think, third for this race, and he qualified second for the second race of the weekend, which will take place tomorrow morning. So he's shown really, really good pace this weekend. He'll be disappointed to end his race early.
Yeah, just bad luck. And you look at kind of the season for Levy, and it's been that way at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Had a podium finish in round 1 and then a dismal race number 2. Struggled at Watkins Glen in the first race, but a good podium finish, or a win, I should say, in the final one, like you said. Taking a look at it, the class leaders as they run right now throughout. Ryan Norman leads in Pro. Billy Johnson in Pro-Am, sharing that car with Todd Coleman in Am. It's McGee who leads there, and then you go back to LB Cup. Roberts leading there aboard the number 89. 4 different classes, and Jeremy, we talk about this a lot. Really, the only thing that separates these classes is the driver's experience level and effectively their speed. And as they get better and better, they move up. I mean, basically, this is one of the few series in the world where you can run with people that you aspire to be as good as in the exact same equipment, but you don't have to race with them head to head because you're in your own class.
Yeah, it is really cool. I mean, the breadth of experience of drivers in this field is immense. From guys who've literally done 1 or 2 races. One of the drivers this weekend, Keon Tandon, he's going to be sharing the number 42 car, currently running in 11th position with sharing the car with Luke Berkeley. This time last year, Keon, this was his first ever car race, period. He'd done a fair bit of karting as a youth and done some sim racing, what have you, but his first ever car race was in the Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo here at Road America, of all places, one of the most daunting tracks, not only in North America, but literally the world. So that was a baptism of fire for young Keon, but he's progressed really quickly. He actually did a really good job that first weekend. He was fast right off the bat, and he's going to be a contender.
And you compare his experience with someone like Sebastian Saavedra, or you look at a Billy Johnson, who was a platinum-rated Ford driver in GT Le Mans aboard the Ford GT. So you think about the opposite ends of the spectrum like that. Johannes van Overbeek, other people with tremendous experience winning some of the great endurance sports car races in the world, driving Indy cars, you name it, they've done it. And you get to race with them, like you said. It may be your first car race ever, but that's who you're on the racetrack with. And that's what Lamborghini Super Trofeo offers to the teams and competitors alike. It gives a team, I think, another great opportunity to fill the seats of cars in different classes. And then that LB Cup competitor that you have on your team may have a pro combination driver pairing in front of them that they can look at the data with and use as coaches and be better, faster race car drivers because they're racing on the same team with pros that have done it for years.
Absolutely right. I mean, look, it was only 3 or 4 years ago that Ashton Harrison was starting out as a rookie in the LB Cup series here. She's done a little bit of racing before, but not much. And yet this weekend she's going to be driving in the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship event in an Acura with the same team that she ran with here in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. So it just offers great opportunities for drivers to progress in every single way. And Ashton now is a very accomplished driver indeed, but she's worked super hard to get there. And there's a lot more youngsters now in the field in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo than ever was the case before. There's I think it's 4 drivers or maybe 5 that haven't even yet turned 20. There's a 17-year-old in Jake Walker, who again coincidentally made his debut right here at Road America last year. He's now running in the pro class, having started out as an AM, now running in pro. And not only that, but after the first race of this season, he was tabbed by Lamborghini to be part of their young driver program. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum, someone like Fred Roberts in that kind of 89, who's leading in the LB Cup category. He's been around the sport, driving all sorts of different cars over the years. He spent a lot of time driving Vipers. I guess he must like V10 powered cars, huh, Brian?
Well, there you go. And like you said, leading in LB Cup. And for Fred Roberts, he's been on podium every race this year in LB Cup. So he's having a good run here, trying to find the victory. He's been second. He's been third. He has not won a race yet this year. Perhaps Road America is his opportunity. Well,
that's his plan, and he's got his first pole position of the season this weekend. He drives for the NTE Sports team, and as you say, that consistency, 2 wins, 2 seconds, keeps him within 14 points. Make that 13. He gets a point for pole position for today's race. So he's very much in touch with the class leader, Mark Wilgus, who's right behind him on the racetrack in car number 50 for the Forte Racing, powered by US Racetronics team. 3 wins, 1 pole position already this year for Mark. So it's he who leads the points. But this is good ground being made by Fred Roberts. He's already got the 1 point for the pole, and he wants to convert that into his first win of the season.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, for Wilgus, he's won 3 of the 4 races so far this year, and his worst finish is second. So he's been remarkably consistent. Speaking of consistent, Jeremy, that's the other great thing about Lamborghini Super Trofeo. They announced their schedule this weekend for 2024, and it's been one of the foundations of this series since its inception, and that is a consistency not only in the schedule, going to great racetracks, but also a consistency in the rule set, the format of the events, the car, and the rules packages from a technical standpoint. And it allows the investment that's made in this machinery to be amortized over several years. You look at the season for next year, the schedule, it starts at Sebring. For Lamborghini, they haven't been back to Sebring since 2016, I believe it was, 2015 actually. Then to WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, where they have been, Watkins Glen, where they've been. They've been at COTA in recent years, and then in Indianapolis, which will be new to the IMSA WeatherTech Championship this year, and for Lamborghini next year. The really great thing about the schedule for next year for Lamborghini Super Trofeo in North America is 4 of those 5 events, they'll run at races where the new Lamborghini LMDH prototype will run. So you look at it, they're making their debut in that LMDH prototype for Lamborghini at Sebring. It will not be at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca because they're only doing their endurance races. It will be at Watkins Glen. It will be at Circuit of the Americas with WEC, and then it'll be at Indianapolis for the 6 hours. So you're going to have a lot of Lamborghini to cheer on next year if you're a Lamborghini fan, both in Lamborghini Super Trofeo and in IMSA WeatherTech. And if you want to head down to Texas for COTA for the WEC race, you'll see it there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no coincidence there. I mean, Lamborghini, the series manager there, Chris Ward, he's worked really hard to get this schedule so that there is a lot of Lamborghini interest. I mean, there's a huge amount of interest in that new GTP car that'll make its debut, hopefully at Sebring next year. That hasn't been confirmed. It's very unlikely to be at Daytona, but the plan, I believe at the moment, is to make that car its debut at Sebring, where the Super Trofeo will be as well. And with the hospitality setup that Lamborghini has these days, they entertain a lot of guests, a lot of customers, and potential customers, and you know they're just tremendous events all the way around. And next year's schedule, I think there's a lot of excitement. And look, we're having record-sized fields this year. Look at all these cars. You know, we're coming up for the start there. 36 cars lined up. They're coming up the hill towards the start line. Was absolutely fantastic. It's so cool to see.
Brian Till, Jeremy Shaw with you. It is round number 5 of the 2023 season for Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America. Third weekend, so every weekend where they race, 5 weekends here in North America, it is a doubleheader. So this is the first of 2 here at Road America this weekend. Lights stay on the Lamborghini Huracan safety car, so we'll do one more lap around this 4-mile masterpiece. And Jeremy, I don't think there are any better race fans than what you find here at Road America as well. We travel all over the country, and everybody that's a sports car fan, it's always great to see, whether we're at Petit Le Mans, WeatherTech Raceway, you name it, the sports car fans come out in droves. But here at Road America, it's always a special group.
Oh, isn't it just? I mean, it's a beautiful part of the world. The Kettle Moraine country here in Wisconsin, which is about an hour or so north of Milwaukee, a couple of hours only from Chicago, and the fan turnout here is always great. This weekend particularly, you know, there's so much excitement, I think, about this racetrack at the moment. I mean, the owners here, the ownership group, I should say, have put so much into the track. It's a not-for-profit organization here that runs Road America. And there's a lot of shareholders, and everything is plowed back to improve the facility, and the improvements over the years have just been fantastic. So much different to what it was, say, 15 years or so ago, or 30 years ago, when I first started coming here. And you know, people have been coming here since the mid-50s, when the track was first laid out. And it's a great venue. And this new repave, there was a massive project over the winter, and it just looks glorious right now. The racetrack is in great shape, and a lot of excitement about this new surface, and particularly about these huge fields of cars that provides as a part of the IMSA weekends.
Well, I remember when they first staked out this land to build the track.
You were there,
I don't really remember that, Jeremy. I'm not that old, but I mean, you look at it, and this is the age-old, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And what I mean by that is, when I first came to this racetrack back in the late 80s, it was the same facility, right?
Yeah.
It was the same acreage, the same layout, everything was the same. But the reinvestment, as you said, the planning that has gone into it, and the planning that exists for the future is stunning. Lights out on the safety car. We'll go green this time by, but you talk about the repaving, which was a monumental project. But what about the timing and media building, the hospitality that's there, the restrooms that have been added and updated and upgraded, the concession stands, the viewing area. When I first came here, the tire wall was about 5 feet off the left edge of the road, all the way through the carousel and all the way to the kink. And now you've got the ability to get all the way around the outside of the racetrack, the carousel, the kink, all down through the inside to view the racetrack, all the viewing areas, all the hospitality areas that are there. The racetrack is the same. The facility is the same, but it has changed immensely.
And they've done
but the magic is still the same.
Absolutely, it is. And the character of the circuit hasn't really changed. Driving it has, with this new repave. There's certainly a fair bit more grip when you're on the line, but it's a brand new surface, so it's not been kind of fully rubbered in yet. It's going to get better with age, as every track does. And then it kind of overstays its welcome, so to speak. And as the track wears out, it becomes harder work for the tires. But I think right now it's it's still early after this replay, but they've done a fabulous job, and they put so much work into making sure that the character of the circuit has changed, and the transitions between the new surface and the curbs, for example, as close to being exactly the same as they were before as is humanly possible. But now look, lights are out, the safety car is pulling away.
Oh, wow.
Go back to green.
Ryan Norman just matted it right about the turn-in for turn 14, and he is gone. He is checked out. Nico Jameen just behind, and then Gianno Torino in that red, white, and green number 88. Seeing if he can use any of the draft off of that number 30 in front of him. No, nothing doing right now. So Norman in the black and orange, number 84, leads through turn 1. They dart down the hill, and Torino aboard the 88 looking. And for Jameen, do you really want to block and slow your exit off of this corner here? Because it just sets you up as more of a target down in turn 5. And the benefactor from all of that may be Kyle Marcelli in the bright red number 1, 4th in the order as they head down to the braking zone for turn 5.
Yeah, Gianno Torino in that red, white, and green car, just 19 years old, originally from Johannesburg, South Africa, lives now in Florida. A really talented young man. And look, he made that pass. He got past Kyle Marcelli on lap 3 of this race, just before we went to full course caution, and now he's really putting the pressure on Nico Jameen for that second position as well. So he's on a charge. But Ryan Norman, wow, having got his first pole position in the series this year, he's new to the series this year, done an awful lot of racing in all sorts of different cars in the past, as has Nico Jameen in that number 30 car. In fact, they both did quite a lot of Indy Lights over here, both of those two. But Gianno Torino is hanging right with them.
Pit window is now open for Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and there is always a mandatory pit stop here in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America Series. 50-minute race. The window opens 20 minutes in, closes with 20 minutes to go. So you've got 10 minutes to make that mandatory pit stop. And you've noticed already, I'm sure, that some of the driver pairings are a bit different. Some of these teams elect to run 2 drivers, some with only a single driver, and that makes the mandatory pit stop time a little bit different. There is a minimum time you can spend on pit road for 2 driver combinations, Jeremy. This weekend it's 99 seconds. For 1 driver pairings, it's 102 seconds. So you've got to sit still, or you've got to be on pit road, I should say, not sit still, for 3 seconds longer if you're a 1 driver pairing. Why?
Why? Because if you're a single driver in this race, you know exactly how the track is, how the car is performing, how the tires are balanced, and the car is balanced aerodynamically. When you come into the pits, it'll be pretty much the same when you go out again. The tires will lose a little bit of temperature, but nothing more than that. So you can get right back in the groove again. But for somebody who hops into the car halfway through the race, he'll have got some information over the radio, perhaps from his co-driver, saying, the car's good, or it's doing this, or whatever. But it's not the same as driving it yourself. So it's certainly going to take you a few corners at least, at best, to learn what you really need to know about these cars to push it to the very limit. That is why the single driver cars have to make a slightly longer pit stop. 3 seconds has been determined as the right amount. I tell you what, it seems to run really well. There's a contact though from behind for Gianno Torino. How did he come under pressure there from Billy Johnson?
Now Torino slipping back a little bit. He's now, and problems down where, I'm not exactly, I think that's turn 5 for the 89. See on that close-up, but starting to get a little rough and tumble out on the racetrack right now. It's Fred Roberts aboard the 89, and man, 10 car, that was Graham Doyle. He had presented himself, Jeremy. I'm not sure if Fred Roberts didn't see him, but as he closed the door, there was really nowhere in my mind for the Graham Doyle to go. They make contact, and around Roberts goes.
Yeah, yeah, that's not good. The youngster there, Graham Doyle, and Fred Roberts had been leading in the LB Cup. So just 17 years of age as Graham Doyle, has basically no experience at all coming into this weekend. He didn't need to be doing that. Incident involving cars 96 and 88 is under review. That's the incident we saw up at turn 6, wasn't it, where Torino got put sideways there by Billy Johnson. I think the stewards are going to be busy during this race, Brian. But a couple of the leading contenders did come into the pits, including car number 1, Kyle Marcelli, the championship leader, he ducked out of 4th position to hand over that number 1 car to Danny Formal from Costa Rica, who will do the closing 26 minutes remaining now of this race.
Fred Roberts on the pit road as well, and really that call by the number 1 team to come in and do that driver change when you're kind of mired in traffic and you're back in the order a couple of cars, it's really not a bad idea, right? It's hard to pass around this racetrack. If you feel like you might be faster on the racetrack, come and get your pit stop done and see if you might be able to leapfrog them on a pit stop. You have a better one than they do. We not change tires. We're not putting fuel in the cars here in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, but still, you can have a problem on a pit stop. So see if you can just go ahead and get this out of your way. Maybe you'll have a little better clear sailing on the racetrack when you get back out, and you might be able to pick that position up that you can't pick up in battling by coming to the pit road. And man, it is getting rough and tumble out on the racetrack right now. Another incident up in turn 6, cars off the racetrack.
Yeah, so the stewards are going to be busy, I think. They have all sorts of replays they can look at in race control, and they've got quite a bit under there to look at the moment. There's another note come up on the screen. Incident involving cars 10 and 89 under review. So they've got basically, in soccer terminology, VAR, video assistant referee, if you like, who will go over that information. And yeah, certainly looked like Billy Johnson got in the back there of Gianno Torino, going up the hill under braking for turn 6, sent that number 88 car sideways, cost him a couple of positions, having really been charging hard.
And I think that's probably a pretty easy call, although interesting. Well, yeah, car 96 penalty, incident responsibility with the 88 warning. Now, they may look at that and say it's a warning. We're not going to bring him to pit lane. It wasn't a battle for position within class, even though an order changed. And perhaps Gianno Torino, they think, might bear a little bit of responsibility by how he placed the car. I don't know, but any way you look at it, both cars continued. No change of positions in class, so a warning for the 96 of Billy Johnson is Gianno Torino on pit road now.
He is indeed, and having lost a few positions there as a result, I think Billy's lucky to get away with that. I mean, if the number 88 car hadn't lost any positions, then that's fair enough, but he won't be very happy, I don't think, Torino, when he hops out of this car. Lucas Peterson from, he's been based and born in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, but has Swedish nationality. He's going to hop into this car. And incidentally, this car for tomorrow's race will start right at the back, because Lucas Peterson, when he went out for his qualifying run, there were 2 different sessions to set the grids for the 2 races, split by only 5 minutes, each session 15 minutes long, and whichever driver qualifies in the first session, assuming that if the 2 driver cars, they will switch drivers for the second qualifying period, and he will start race 2. Lucas Peterson didn't get a good lap in qualifying, and the session was stopped early because of an incident that Todd Coleman, he spun off at turn 5, so he didn't get a representative lap time. He'll have to start last tomorrow, so Lucas Peterson is going to have a lot of work to do. But now he's also got some work to do, because they lost a bit of ground with that incident out on track for his co-driver, Gianno Torino.
Interesting, Ryan Norman now on pit lane. So the lead is going to kind of cycle through a little bit as you see the 96 of Billy Johnson working his way forward. Johnson will hand that car over to Todd Coleman. They're back in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. Have not run the first couple of races of the season. We did see them last year, so they're learning their way back. And I see some smoke. Oh, and now big smoke out of the front end of the 46, because he has made big contact with the concrete here at Road America, and this is going to bring out full course caution. And this is something that you don't see very often at all, and that is that 46 car with the problems. That's JCD, John Capestro de Betz, behind the wheel. Big impact, and mistakes are not something that is common on the part of John Capestro de Betz, so you've got to wonder if there was another car or several other cars involved as they were working their way through traffic. This is at the exit of Canada Corner before you ever even get to the turn-in for turn 13. So I've got to believe traffic was involved in this incident. Yeah,
I mean, he was running in 3rd position, was Capestro de Betz. He was dicing with Andy Lee both in the Pro-Am class. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. It's the exit of Canada Corner there, turn 12, heading up the hill. Carried a lot of speed through Canada Corner these days, but that's a pretty heavy impact for John Capestro de Betz, and really disappointing. His co-driver, Tom Capizzi, he had an incident, well, only 200 or 300 yards farther up the track around the corner at turn 13 yesterday, and as a result of that, they lost quite a bit of time in one of the sessions. So it's been a busy weekend for that Precision Performance Motorsports team. The car was repaired and qualified well by JCD, but not where he normally qualifies. He started in the 8th position, was running in 3rd with other people having already made a pit stop during this race. But that's the guy that qualified on the overall pole position in that number 46 car a little bit earlier this season at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. So he's super fast, and that's a really a shame to see that car out of the race so early. That's also, of course, the championship leader in Pro-Am. Came into this weekend with a 10-point lead over Kjorn Tanden, who is driving car number 42 in the Pro-Am classes. So it's going to give him a good opportunity to make up a lot of ground in the championship, but it would have been, except for the fact that was the car, number 20 car, that was in the pits early. Excuse me, no, that was number 42, wasn't it? That Tanden is driving. Chandra Soma is running 3rd in the class in the points, but that car, that's kind of a 20 that he has had a problem and is already, I think, out of this race. So a few people did nip into the pits while when this caution period. Well, as the caution was coming out. The first 2, however, did not. Billy Johnson, Andy Lee, first 3. Billy Johnson, Andy Lee and Mark Miller, I think they must have been past the pit entrance already when the caution initially came out. So they were unable to make their stops. The next 3 cars are on the racetrack. Number 70, 69 and 9. 70 car is running in Pro-Am. 69 and 9 are both Am class contenders. They did come into the pits, but they was the only ones who did. So for those guys who haven't yet made a pit stop, that's going to be a problem, because you can't make a pit stop under the full course caution, and the pits have now been closed. The question is, did the number 70, 69 and 9 get into the pits before they were officially closed? And we'll have to wait for race control to confirm that.
Under full course caution at Road America, Lamborghini Super Trofeo, round number 5 of the 2023 season. And under full course caution because of an incident involving the number 46 Pro-Am entry. John Capestro de Betz shares that entry with Tom Capizzi. They are actually the leaders in the Pro-Am championship. Have won 3 of 4 races. Really only some bad luck at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca was the only blot on their record up until this point. This is big impact after the exit of turn 12, Jeremy. I mean, you will have tracked the car out and you're preparing to bend the car back around to get ready for the entry to turn 13. And as you had said, he was running in traffic with some other competitors, so you got to feel like this was not an incident on his own. So we'll have to wait and see if we have some replays of that, and the field is going to have to cycle through. Once we get back to green, they'll reopen the pit window, and the cars that have not stopped yet will stop, and then hopefully we'll get back to green flag racing. So the order as it sits, when you look through, what do you see as far as pit stops, Jeremy? I mean, up front, are we solid?
How do you mean by solid? They haven't stopped at the top.
Yeah, they haven't stopped. That's what I mean. I don't think they. Yeah, no, the top 3 have not.
This is all very much played into the hands of car number 1, because Danny Formal has come out of the pits ahead of Ryan Norman, who led the early stages, and Ryan Norman came in to make his pit stop after 9 laps, and the number 1 car had been in a couple of laps prior to that. It was one of the first cars to make a pit stop on lap 7, and Carl Marcelli handed the car over to Danny Formal, who after that set the fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 6.232 for Formal. And with the longer pit stop that number 84 car has to make, 3 seconds longer than the number one, because Ryan Norman is driving solo in this race for the reasons we talked about a little while ago. That those two factors combined have meant that number one is back in the effective lead of this race. He's quite a long way back down the road, but having made the pit stop, he's still on the same lap as the overall leaders, who have yet to make their mandatory pit stop. So the question for me is, the cars that came in right as the caution came out, 70, 69 and 9, did they serve their full pit stop, or did they drive through the pits? I didn't see, and unfortunately I don't have any timing of the pit stop time to know whether or not they have met that minimum. It could be, and this is conjecture I'm afraid because I don't have the information to hand, that as they came into the pits, they realised that the caution was out and the pits had been closed. They might have just driven through and not made their mandatory stop. But again, I don't know that for sure. But whatever is the case, certainly the top three on the racetrack, 96, 14 and 41, they have not yet made a pit stop, will need to do so after we go back to green. So they are going to fall all the way back down the field when they make their pit stops. So the guys who have made their pit stops already are in really, really good shape.
So the field behind the safety car here at Road America, Lamborghini Super Trofeo. This is race number one of the weekend here at Road America. Always double headers for Lamborghini Super Trofeo. This is round number 3 of the season, weekend number 3. That makes it race number 5 as they continue to work to clean up the accident scene in between turns 12 and turn 13. The good news is John Capestro de Betz is out of his number 46 safety team, getting him into an emergency vehicle, and they will take him to the infield medical center. Such great safety team work here. The AMR safety team, the safety team here at Road America, all working together to make sure that anytime there's any kind of an incident on the racetrack, they are at the scene as quickly as they can possibly be, and the drivers are attended to in the most professional way possible. Always safety paramount for both the driver and the safety workers that are there, which is why a lot of times when you look at the safety car leading the field around and you think, well, how hard can that be to drive it because they're not going very fast? Jeremy, there's a lot to it, right? There's a lot of radio communication to the driver of that safety car. They need to know exactly where the incident scene is. They're speeding up, slowing down to try to keep the pace of the field at a pace good enough to keep temperature and pressure in the tires, maybe some brake temperature, but also to lead that group through incident scenes on the proper side of the racetrack where they should be to control the pace. Like we see here as they head to turn 7, emergency vehicles on the racetrack. The driver of that safety car knows where all of that is. He's in radio communication with race control. So this is not a Sunday drive for whoever is behind the wheel of the safety car.
No, that's right. And communication is massively important in this series, and not just amongst the teams. You're right. The information will go to the safety car driver, what speed to do, when to pull in, and it's a cool ride out there, I would imagine, certainly, and particularly with this huge field of cars behind it. But unfortunately, we've seen the safety car too much during this race. We feared there might be some incidents, because we've seen incidents in just about every session for every series this weekend. But it certainly split up this race, and particularly insofar as the drivers have not yet made a pit stop, they're going to be massively handicapped when we go back to green. And the guys, the driver that's in the catbird seat at the moment is Danny Formali. He's currently running in 7th position in car number 1 as the championship leader and the pro defending class champion, but he's ahead of Ryan Norman in car number 84. Sebastian Saavedra has taken over from Nico Jamin in the what will be the third place car when the other cars ahead of them come into the pits. And then behind him is Lucas Peterson, who's taken over from Gianno Torino. So even though Torino had that sort of half spin and I think was slowed down on that lap, he's still come into the pits in a good position. He'll be 4th, I think, once we get back to green flag racing and other guys come into the pits. And right behind them are the 247 Motorsports cars coming, 55, which is Joel Miller, who's a huge amount of experience in all sorts of different cars. And talking about factory drivers, he was a factory Mazda driver in the prototypes for many years. And at the opposite end of the spectrum, 17-year-old Jake Walker in car number 77 right behind him. So it's the 6 pro cars are nose to tail when we go back to green.
Well, there's the graphic that shows what you've been talking about as far as pit stops go. Billy Johnson, Andy Lee, Mark Miller, the top 3 on the racetrack have not pitted. And the more the clock counts down before we go back to green, Jeremy, as you said, the less time they have to not just get their pit stop done. They'll come in and they'll do their mandatory pit stop, the time that they need to serve on pit lane and all of that. But they just don't have time to get back in the fight. That's the problem.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, we talked about the minimum pit stop time, the time from when they enter the pit lane to when they exit the pit lane. So that doesn't include the entire stop. You also lose time slowing down to come into pits and getting back up to speed afterwards. So they're going to fall the better part of a lap down when they make their pit stop. So in order to have any chance of getting back into contention in their respective classes, they're really going to probably need another full course caution in the closing stages. But we've only got 10 minutes to go now in any case. So if we had another caution, I think that would probably end the race. So yeah, it's not good news for the Pro-Am cars. And you talked about the window being open from 20 minutes into the race to 30 minutes into the race. So i.e. 20 minutes from the end is when the pit stop window closes. Well, those cars haven't met that metric. So that's going to be a penalty as well, because they had the opportunity to come into the pits before that. They just elected not to do so. They are therefore going to be pitting outside of that window, and that will be a penalty even if it isn't going to be a penalty already for coming in and losing all that track position.
We talk about championships as we came into Road America. Danny Formal, Kyle Marcelli, we said undefeated in the pro category, and as you have pointed out, Jeremy, with the pit stops that need to be served, and as things will cycle through, Danny Formal, Kyle Marcelli looking really good again, because even though they're 7th on the racetrack, they're still leading the pro category. And I'm not sure where in traffic Ryan Norman is in the 84 when we go back to green, whether he'll be able to mount a charge or he'll have to work his way past other cars in order to get to the number 1. Who's right behind the number 1? Well, no.
Yes.
It is Ryan Norman. So he's going to have a shot when we go back to green. Danny Formal is going to have to work. He wants to maintain the perfect record that they have in the Pro-Am category. Things are going to change this weekend. Our thoughts are certainly with John Capestro de Betz after his incident there in between turns 12 and 13. He and Tom Capizzi led the championship coming in, 3 victories on the season, but obviously not going to be a good points day at all for that duo, and so that's going to change the complexion there. David Staub led in the AM category as we came in to the weekend, and looking on the screen right now, Staub back in 4th, and he was only 3 points in front of Anthony McIntosh and Glenn McGee. So you've got possibilities of championship changing there, and significant damage you can see to the front end of that Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeo Evo 2 that John Capestro de Betz was piloting. And in LB Cup, Mark Wilgus won the first 3 races of the season, and really of the 3 championships, he's the only driver that really is sitting in a pretty good place. Greg Doyle in front of him right now on the racetrack, but Doyle well behind him in the championship. And Wilgus looks like he may continue to stretch out his lead over at least some of the competitors in LB Cup as the lights are out on the Lamborghini Huracan safety car.
Yeah, they are indeed. So we're going to go back to green. It'll be about a little bit less than 7 minutes, 6.5 minutes remaining perhaps in this race. It's going to be a shootout to the end. I'm sure we'll see the number 96, 14 and 41 all ducking into the pits pretty quickly here to make their driver changes. But all those pro contenders are all in a line there behind the Pro-Am, 4 Pro-Am cars and a couple of Am cars. Then it's all 6 pros all together as a green flag comes out.
And here's what's important, that red flashing light on the right side of the racetrack as they came out of 14. It's telling you the pit lane is closed. Pit window will not reopen until everybody goes past the start-finish line. and they can reopen it once everyone is passed. And so they've got to complete a lap before they can come back around and take advantage of what is left in the pit window. So Billy Johnson, hammer down, trying to get back around as quickly as he can. The more distance he can put it between himself and fellow competitors, the less time he'll lose to them when he gets back out on the racetrack. But not going to be a lot of time left as the pit window is now reopened.
Yeah, and I think Danny Formal and Ryan Norman were able to jump past a couple of slower cars at restart. There's all sorts of lap traffic in the mix here in the overall reckoning. So it's a little bit confusing at this stage in the race. But as you say, the pits won't be open until everybody has gone past start-finish line. So they will be in next time around to make their driver changes. Billy Johnson then still leads the field in kind of a 96. It's the car that was damaged this morning. And the bright pink, number 14 of Andy Lee running in second position. A little bit farther back there is Mark Miller, who's third in Pro-Am. Also behind him is Mark Wilgus in car number 50, who's a lap down to the leaders, but is still running in second position in LB Cup. The only driver in LB Cup that had not been lapped, and that's only because those three leaders right now had not yet made their pit stop, is car number 10, Graham Doyle, who therefore leads in LB Cup.
And really what we're looking for, Jeremy, is that bright red number 1, Danny Formal behind the wheel, Ryan Norman in the black and orange 84 just behind him. We know the top 3 cars on the racetrack right now are going to head to pit lane. They have to. They need to get their pit stop done as time is running out. Pit window has reopened. Expect to see them. There's Billy Johnson. Expect to see the 14 as well. Third place car, the 41, Mark Miller. They all head to pit lane as they should. Now everybody else that's on the racetrack is kind of out there for position, but we even do have some lapped cars between Logan in the 70 and the number 1 of Danny Formal. Those should go away pretty quickly, but you're looking for the bright red number 1, probably about 8 or 9 cars back. Here they come. This is really the battle for the lead right here. The bright red number 1, Danny Formal, a block there on Norman to the inside down into turn 1. This is going to be the battle for the lead when it all shakes out. Norman, obviously a really good car underneath him, and you got to wonder what the officials are going to say about that defensive driving that you see Danny Formal doing right now aboard the number 1.
Yeah, and he kind of parked the Ryan Norman, his teammate. Remember, these are teammates for Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport, but it doesn't look like the way they were driving there, because it wasn't a reactive move by car number 1, Danny Formal. That's the only saving grace. So who's a spinner in the middle of the racetrack? Car number 17, that's Tiger Tari, who's running in a third position, or was running in third position in LB Cup. Oh. He's going to lose that. Was that scary moment down there. But it wasn't a reactive move. As soon as he came out of turn 1, Danny Formal moved directly to the inside of the racetrack, so that's okay. The question is then, did he move across to the outside to sort of hinder Ryan Norman some more? I don't think he did. I think he'd get away with that, but it's certainly pretty close. There's another spin. This is AJ Muss, yeah, who's taken over from Lane Vicala, who started that car. So
I think he just stalled it as he'll try to get it restarted. And once again, here we go. The bright red number 1 through the kink. Danny Formal trying to keep Ryan Norman behind him. He's got traffic in front. This is slower traffic. They run in front of him on the racetrack, but these cars are a lap down or about to go a lap down. So Formal's got to be forceful to get his way through, because he knows that behind him, Ryan Norman has been very aggressive, and Norman right there, and Formal having a hard time through turn 13, trying to get around this traffic in front, up on the curb, looks to the inside going into 14. Is this going to slow him down the front straightaway, though? Ryan Norman right there, he's going to have to be defensive again, Jeremy.
He is indeed, yeah. I'm not quite sure who that car was, the white car there, who was... I didn't see it. Does it flash past me, to be honest, who it was, but he certainly wasn't making life easy for the overall race leader. Look at that.
Is it too deep? It is too deep. Danny Formal, does he save it? He saves it. Does he stay in front of Ryan Norman?
I mean, they both crashed there, didn't they, at turn 1, but didn't he?
They did.
Goodness gracious me, that was an exciting move by both of them. A really late lunge under braking for Danny Formal, but luckily for him, Ryan Norman did exactly the same thing. Wow.
I knew that when he went to the inside that the radius was going to tighten up there in 1. He needed to be going slower, but he couldn't be slower because he was trying to get the pass done. Looks deep inside the 34. Will he get it done here? Norman comes with him.
Yeah, so they finally
through turn 5, up the hill to turn 6. 2 to go, Jeremy.
Oh, wow, this is so exciting. It'll be with white flag next time around. AJ Moss's car is still stuck there at exit turn 6. And that incident also is under review. Inconclusive is the call there. Here's number 88 car down the inside of the 89. That is for position on the racetrack. It's actually not even that, because number 89 car is a lap down. But boy, there's a lot going on in this motor race. But certainly, having made that pass past that traffic, Danny Formal now has got a little bit of breathing space over that number 84 car. Here's another look at that replay coming into turn 1.
Looking for Mal. He was going to tuck behind the car and then realize, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that without hitting him. Goes to the inside, and then he's like, well, I can't slow down for the corner. But the only good news is, Jeremy, Ryan Norman couldn't either.
No, that's right. He was in too deep himself and ran a little bit wide. If he'd have kind of tucked in behind those 2 lapped cars, one of them, I think, was Mark Wilgus, wasn't it? And I'm not sure who the other one was, to be honest, but it was really, really tight out there, and they've got through. It'll be... Oh, wait a minute. Are we going to get checkered flag or white flag? There's 2 seconds to go on the clock. No, it's a white flag.
White flag.
They took it with...
Oh, and an incident at the exit of 13.
Oh, no.
That was your Pro-Am leader in the number 70 with the issue there.
Yeah.
Jay Logan behind the wheel, and the 34 with a problem as well. The 48 involved. It's David Staub in the 48. So had AM competitors, Pro-Am competitors, and that's the problem with that yellow, that lengthy yellow. It mixes the field all up together, and as you run down the clock, you find yourself in battles with other drivers in classes that don't matter to you.
Tell you what, I'm glad. The checkered flag is now being waved. Why?
Well, being told now that the checkered wasn't out, but time had expired, yes, and that's what matters, Jeremy.
Yeah, I thought it was close, and I thought they were going to let it go and let us have another lap of racing, which would have been really good fun. But no, the time had expired.
Yeah, no.
I'm right on the start-finish line here, and I can see it.
Well,
and as they went across the line, I thought, wait a minute.
You know this racetrack well. These drivers, the leader, are down in the bottom in radio communication at Road America, even with repeaters and all of that. It's hard to get. And if I'm Danny Formal, you're going to have to tell me 15 different times that the race is actually over and it's okay to slow down.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, there's no way I'm going to do it. And don't be surprised if he crosses the start-finish line one more time.
Yeah, just to be sure, because, I mean, he hasn't seen physically the checkered flag himself, so he's doing absolutely the right thing here, cover all his bases. He hasn't been shown the checkered flag, and that signifies the end of the race. All he saw was a white flag, so he's doing absolutely the right thing here. And, yeah, we'll see whether he goes across. There's other guys still racing out there as well.
I was going to say, I think a lot of the teams don't know. They haven't looked at the message on the bottom of the timing screen that says checkered flag. So it is out. The race is over, according to what we're being told. Time was out when they got to the line. So the flag, you don't have to see the checkered flag. You can go past it, and then the officials can call it, just like they did if it is very, very close. And as you called it, Jeremy, I'll bet you it was less than a second.
Yeah, thereabouts. A second or two, probably. It was certainly pretty close. And I was thinking, come on, let's have one more lap of this, because it's really good fun. That was quite a contest between Danny Formal and Ryan Norman, and Ryan will be disappointed not to get one last opportunity to have a run at Danny Formal there. But it was a really exciting race, yeah, we were kind of robbed of another lap there by just Nat's whisker. But great job by Danny Formal to keep that record alive for this season, still unbeaten now in 5 races, so will extend their lead. Good job there by Lucas Peterson to come home in 3rd position in car number 88. He was able to stay ahead of, or actually pass, Sebastian Saavedra, a former IndyCar driver, after the green flag at the restart, so comes away with a podium finish in car number 88.
And a good run for the number 10 of Greg Doyle. He's your winner in LB Cup. And there's plenty of excitement there on that final lap. Take a look at what happened to the 70 car. That was Jay Logan in Pro-Am. So up out of Canada corner, coming into turn 13. And I don't know if he doesn't. He's trying to get inside the 48, and the 48 turns down. They make contact. They both go around. So one of those things, it's like I was saying, Jeremy, you really kind of have to understand where you are and who's around you, who you're racing with, because you don't want to get tangled up with someone who's not in your class. That's exactly what happened there for the 70 of Jay Logan and the 48 of David Staub there at turn 13.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of drama in that race, wasn't there? But look, it's the pro cars at the front of the field, which is, you know, as it kind of should be, so they will tell you. But Danny Formella, a great win by him. In the AM class, hats off there to Anthony McIntosh in car number 69. He comes home in the 7th position overall, and with the Pro-Am win, that should move into the championship lead. They started on the pole position with that effort by Glenn McGee, so that will move Anthony McIntosh and Glenn McGee into the championship lead in the AM class. In Pro-Am, it's Kjorn Tanden that came away with a win 1 year to the weekend after his very, very first car race, and which is also in this series, gets the Pro-Am win. And that is the first win for Kjorn. So really good job by the youngster there from Southern California, and that will move him unofficially into the lead in the Pro-Am points. He's running in Pro-Am. So that'll move him into the points. He came into this weekend second, 10 points behind John Capestro, Dubets and Tom Capizzi. They were out pretty early in this race, so that should put Kjorn Tanden into the championship lead in Pro-Am.
Well, our sincere thoughts with John Capestro Dubets after his incident there between turns 12 and 13. Race number 5 of the season in the books. 6 is coming up. Always a doubleheader in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. We'll bring it to you. For Jeremy Shaw, I'm Brian Tilt. Don't miss a lap of the Raging Bulls here at the National Park of Speed. It's Road America Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and we'll bring you more tomorrow.